Hey, I'm Olivia, 29, and last Christmas flipped my life upside down. My sister, Chloe, got $1 million mansion from our parents, while I was handed a lousy candle, like the clearance rack kind. Then I won $100,000, and you won't believe how I turned their world inside out. Comment right now, have you ever been sidelined by your own family? Stick around to the end because this twist will leave you speechless. Let me set the scene. I grew up in Seattle, Washington, where rainy days and coffee shops are a way of life. I'm a data analyst, busting my tail to pay rent on a tiny apartment and keep my 12-year-old Toyota Corolla running. I've always been the independent one, scraping by without help, proud but exhausted. Chloe, my 24-year-old sister, is the opposite. She lives rent-free at mom and dad's fancy Bellevue house, takes part-time art classes, and parties like it's her job. Mom and dad? They're Richard and Susan, always ready with excuses for Chloe. Liv, you're so strong, they'd say. Chloe needs us more. Sounds nice, but it's code for you're on your own. Growing up, the favoritism was subtle but real. I'd ace exams, get a nod. Chloe'd flunk a class, they'd throw her a pizza party. I graduated college with honors, got a handshake. Chloe dropped out of art school. They sent her to Paris for inspiration. Stung, but I kept pushing. By last Christmas, I was juggling freelance gigs, my car was on its last legs, and I still showed up with thoughtful gifts. I thought maybe this year they'd see me. Boy, was I wrong. That candle wasn't just a gift. It was a slap in the face. And when Chloe got that mansion, I hit my limit. But then, something wild happened and I got the upper hand. Want to know how I flipped the script? Keep watching because this gets crazy. That Christmas left me reeling. Chloe getting $1 million mansion while I held a clearance rack candle wasn't just a gift mismatch, it was a gut punch. My parents' favoritism, always simmering, boiled over, and that $100,000 lottery when I mentioned? It changed everything. But before we get to how I flipped their world, let's rewind to what led up to that Seattle Christmas, where the rain wasn't the only thing soaking my spirits. Growing up in Seattle, our family seemed picture perfect, coffee runs, Pike Place market trips, and mom's homemade gingerbread. But there was a catch. Chloe, my 24-year-old sister, was the golden child. She'd skip class, crash mom's SUV, or blow her allowance on concert tickets, and mom and dad would just smile. Chloe's finding herself, they'd say. Me? I was the strong one, which meant no safety net. I got straight A's, worked summers at a bookstore, and paid my way through college. When I graduated with a data analytics degree, they said, nice work, Liv. Chloe flunked art school and they threw her a bash with a 3-tier cake. I'd swallow the hurt, but it piled up. By last December, I was scraping by in a 500-square-foot apartment near Capitol Hill. My 12-year-old Toyota Corolla had 120,000 miles and a temperamental heater. I paid my rent, student loans, and bills without a dime from anyone, while Chloe lounged at mom and dad's Bellevue mansion, taking part-time classes and Instagramming her brunches. They covered her tuition, car insurance, even her spa days. Chloe's not as steady as you, Dad would say when I hinted at the unfairness. You've got it together. Together? Sure, but it felt like I was penalized for it. The favoritism showed in little ways. My high school valedictorian speech got a pat on the back. Chloe's C+ art project got framed in the living room. I landed my first job at a tech startup, they sent an email. Chloe got a barista gig, they bought her a new MacBook. I kept pushing forward, but by Christmas I was tired of being the afterthought, tired of my car's check engine light, tired of pretending it didn't hurt. I still showed up though with gifts I'd poured my heart into. I thought maybe this time they'd notice me. Maybe this Christmas would be different. Spoiler, it wasn't. That candle versus Chloe's mansion was just the tip of the iceberg. Mom and dad didn't just overlook me, they built a shrine to Chloe's potential while I faded into the background. But when that lottery ticket changed my life, I saw my chance to rewrite the story. What happened at that gift exchange and what I did with that $100,000 turned our family upside down. Want to know how it went from bad to explosive? Keep watching because this is where things get wild. That Christmas was a breaking point. Chloe's $1 million mansion gift versus my clearance rack candle laid bare the favoritism I'd endured for years. Living in my tiny Seattle apartment, scraping by with the 12-year-old Toyota Corolla, I'd always been the strong one while Chloe coasted on mom and dad's support. That $100,000 lottery when I hinted at? It was coming, but first, let's talk about how I walked into that Christmas, hoping for a shred of fairness, only to feel more invisible than ever. Despite my tight budget, I poured my heart into gifts. For Mom and Dad, I painted a canvas of our old family cabin at Lake Washington, spending 20 hours perfecting every brushstroke in a community art class. For Chloe, I hand-knitted a scarf, 30 hours of work, hoping she'd appreciate something personal. I also splurged on a $50 holiday scratch-off ticket, a family tradition that felt like a small way to show I was holding it together. Driving to their Bellevue house, my Corolla sputtered through 15 miles of drizzle, the heater barely working. I texted Mom I was on my way. She replied, "Chloe's out shopping, grab some extra cider, hon?" "No, how's your drive?" "Just Chloe as usual." Pulling into their driveway, I saw their house glowing strings of lights, a reindeer display, and the smell of gingerbread wafting out. Aunt Linda and Uncle Greg were already there, sipping mulled wine by the 10-foot Christmas tree. "Liv, you're here." Mom hugged me, but her eyes flicked to the door, waiting for Chloe. Dad nodded, car still running? Tough old beast. No mention of my job hunt or the freelance gigs I was juggling. I set my gifts under the tree, the lottery ticket tucked in a sparkly envelope, and tried to soak in the holiday vibe. But the chatter was all Chloe, her art classes, her latest Insta post, her creative spirit. My scarf and painting sat unnoticed. An hour later, Chloe breezed in, arms full of glittery bags, her new coat screaming money. "Sorry, fam, the mall was a zoo," she chirped, dropping her haul. Mom rushed to help, cooing, "Oh sweetheart, you're too much." Dad gave her a bear hug, "There's our girl." I stirred my cider, feeling like a prop in their play. Aunt Linda gushed, "Chloe, you're glowing. Any new art projects?" I mentioned a data dashboard I'd built for a client. Uncle Greg cut in, "Chloe, you should sell your sketches." My stomach nodded. I'd driven a dying car, spent weeks on gifts, and still it was the Chloe show. Dinner didn't help. Chloe spun tales of her coffee shop shifts, everyone hanging on her words. I shared a win, landing a contract with a tech startup, and Aunt Linda pivoted, "Chloe, you're so artistic, ever try graphic design?" I gripped my fork, the weight of being overlooked crushing me. Those gifts were my way of saying, "I'm still here." But as we headed to the gift exchange, I had no idea how much worse it would get, or how that lottery ticket would change the game. Want to see how this blew up? Stay tuned, it's about to get intense. The Christmas build-up was brutal. I poured my heart into gifts, a hand-painted canvas, a knitted scarf, a $50 lottery ticket, hoping Mom and Dad would finally see me. But driving my sputtering 12-year-old Toyota Corolla 15 miles to their Bellevue house, I felt the familiar sting of being the strong one, overlooked while Chloe, my 24-year-old sister, basked in their favoritism. Dinner was a parade of Chloe worship, my freelance data analytics win ignored for her coffee shop stories. Now as we gathered for the gift exchange, the twinkling 10-foot Christmas tree and gingerbread-scented air couldn't mask the tension building inside me. That $100,000 lottery when I mentioned? It's coming, but first, the gift exchange hit me like a freight train, setting the stage for a showdown nobody saw coming. The living room was a holiday postcard. String lights glowing, fireplace crackling, and Mom's holiday playlist humming. Aunt Linda and Uncle Greg sipped mulled wine, cousins sprawled on the rug, and Dad took his spot by the tree, playing Santa. "Youngest first," he declared, a rule that always put Chloe before me. My little cousins tore into their gifts, puzzle books I'd made for them, squealing, "Thanks, Liv," before diving into the next box. I handed Mom and Dad my canvas, a painting of our Lake Washington cabin. "This is lovely, hon," Mom said, glancing at it for 10 seconds before setting it aside. Dad nodded, "Real talent, Liv. We'll hang it up." But their eyes were on Chloe's empty chair. She was still freshening up. Chloe finally sauntered in, all glittery nails and designer boots, tossing her gifts out like a game show host. Mom got a spa voucher, Dad a fancy coffee maker, Aunt Linda a silk scarf, high-end stuff, clearly funded by Mom and Dad. Everyone gushed, "Chloe, you're too generous," while I knew she hadn't paid a dime. My knitted scarf for Chloe was next. I handed it over, heart pounding. "Cute, Liv," she said, barely touching it before dropping it on the couch. "I'll wear it sometime." The room moved on, my 30 hours of knitting dismissed. My lottery ticket, still in its sparkly envelope, felt heavy in my pocket. I'd planned a big family reveal, but the mood was souring fast. Now my turn to open gifts. Chloe tossed me a small bag. Inside? A $3 candle with a clearance sticker, the wick already blackened. "Thought it'd match your vibe," she said with a smirk. I forced a laugh, my face hot. Mom and Dad's gift was a $20 Starbucks card and a pair of dollar store mittens. "You love coffee and those mittens are cozy," Mom said, like she'd aced it. Cozy? My apartment's heater was busted, my Corolla's tires were bald, but mittens? I mumbled, "Thanks," my throat tight. Aunt Linda chimed in, Liv, you're so practical, you don't need fancy stuff. Practical? Code for we don't care. Then Dad's face lit up. One last surprise. He pulled a sleek folder from behind the tree, gold embossed, with a red ribbon. For Chloe from us. The room hushed. Chloe opened it, her eyes widening at a property deed. No way, a house? She gasped. Dad grinned, a $1 million cottage in Queen Anne, fully furnished, move-in ready. Mom teared up, you deserve a fresh start, sweetie. Everyone erupted, rushing to hug Chloe. Aunt Linda snapped photos, Uncle Greg toasted, to Chloe's new chapter. They spilled outside to see a sign in the driveway, a mock-up of her new cottage, a 3-bedroom mansion with a view. I sat frozen, the candle's cheap lavender scent choking me. A mansion? For Chloe, who hadn't paid a bill in her life. My Corolla was one repair from the junkyard, my student loans loomed, and I got a used candle. The math didn't add up. They didn't even notice I hadn't moved. Chloe's laugh rang out as she posed for selfies, Mom and Dad beaming like she'd won an Oscar. I slipped the lottery ticket from my pocket, staring at it. This was supposed to be our family's fun moment. Now it felt like a cruel irony. I stood, grabbed my coat, and slipped into the hallway, my chest tight. In the guest bathroom, I locked the door, splashing cold water on my face. My reflection was a stranger, eyes puffy, jaw clenched. Don't break, I whispered, but the tears came, hot and furious. Outside, the family's cheers echoed, Chloe's new life the main event. I'd spent weeks on their gifts, driven through rain in a dying car, for what? To be a footnote while Chloe got $1 million crown? Something shifted. That lottery ticket wasn't theirs anymore. What happened next turned everything upside down. Keep watching, this is where it gets wild. The Christmas gift exchange was a gut punch. Chloe's $1 million mansion versus my $3 clearance candle and $20 Starbucks card wasn't just unfair, it was a neon sign screaming I didn't matter. I'd driven my 12-year-old Toyota Corolla 15 miles through Seattle's drizzle, poured my heart into a hand-painted canvas, a knitted scarf, and a $50 lottery ticket, only to be sidelined while Mom, Dad, Aunt Linda, and Uncle Greg worshipped Chloe's fresh start. Slipping into the guest bathroom, I fought tears, my reflection a mix of rage and hurt. That lottery ticket, meant for a fun family moment, felt like a cruel joke in my pocket. But what happened next? A $100,000 twist and a showdown flipped our family's world upside down. I gripped the sink, whispering, "You're not invisible." But the cheers outside for Chloe's mansion said otherwise. My hands shook as I pulled out the sparkly envelope with the lottery ticket. I'd splurged on that $50 scratcher, thinking it'd bring us together. Now I wanted to tear it up, let the pieces fall like my expectations. Instead, I scratched it, half-dazed, my nails scraping off the silver coating. 1 star. 2 stars. Then a third, glittering under the bathroom light. My breath caught. I scratched faster, revealing the prize, $100,000. I blinked, checked again, heart pounding. No way, I whispered, clutching the ticket like it might vanish. $100,000. Not a mansion, but life-changing for me. The family's laughter snapped me back. Chloe was probably posing with her deed, Mom and Dad glowing. Something ignited inside me, not just the win, but years of being the strong one while Chloe got coddled. I wiped my face, fixed my mascara, and tucked the ticket in my pocket. This wasn't their moment anymore. I walked back to the living room, the 10-foot tree's lights blurring through my anger. Everyone was back inside, sipping wine, Chloe holding court. The cottage has a rooftop deck, she gushed. Aunt Linda cooed, you're living the dream. I cleared my throat, loud enough to cut through. Hey everyone, I said, voice steadier than I felt. They turned, surprised I was speaking. I was gonna save this for later, but since we're celebrating big wins, I held up the ticket, letting it catch the light. I just scratched this. It's worth $100,000. Jaws dropped. Chloe's wine glass froze mid-sip. Mom gasped, Liv, are you serious? Dad's eyes widened, $100,000? I nodded, locking eyes with each of them. Yup. My ticket. My win. For a second, silence. Then chaos. Aunt Linda squealed. That's incredible. Uncle Greg clapped. Way to go, Liv. But I saw the shift. Mom and Dad exchanged glances, Chloe's smile tightened. I didn't let them speak. You know what's funny? I said, my voice sharp now. For 29 years, I've been the one who didn't need help. Straight A's, paying my loans, driving a car that's falling apart. Chloe gets a $1 million mansion, and I get a used candle? A $20 gift card? And you all act like I should be grateful, Mom stammered. Liv, we didn't mean. I cut her off. You did. You always do. Chloe fails art school, you send her to Paris. She crashes your car, you buy her a new one. I lose my portfolio, scrape by, and you say, "You're strong, Liv." Strong? I'm strong because I had to be, while you spoon-fed Chloe everything. Chloe's face reddened. That's not fair, Liv. I don't ask for it. I turned to her, years of hurt spilling out. You don't have to ask, Chloe. They give you the world and I get scraps. You live rent-free, no bills, no worries. Now a mansion? What's next, a private jet? Dad stood. Enough, Olivia. We're family. I laughed, bitter. Family? Where was family when I needed help with my car? My rent? You gave Chloe a $1 million house, Dad. I got mittens. The room was deathly quiet. Aunt Linda stared at her wine. Uncle Greg shifted awkwardly. I held up the ticket again. This? It's mine. Not yours, not Chloe's. For once, I'm not sharing. I grabbed my coat, the ticket burning a hole in my pocket, and headed for the door. Mom called, "Liv, wait." But I didn't stop. Rain pelted my face as I climbed into my Corolla, the engine coughing to life. Driving away, my heart raced. That ticket wasn't just money, it was power. Power to stop being the afterthought. What I did with that $100,000 and how I answered their next move shook them to their core. Want to know how I flipped their world? Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning. Storming out of that Christmas gift exchange, I left Mom, Dad, Chloe, and the whole family stunned in their Bellevue living room. Chloe's $1 million mansion gift versus my $3 candle and $20 Starbucks card had ripped open years of favoritism. Scratching that $50 lottery ticket in the bathroom, finding out I'd won $100,000, and confronting them with it was my breaking point. Driving my 12-year-old Toyota Corolla through Seattle's rain, the ticket tucked in my pocket, I felt a mix of rage and freedom. That $100,000 win wasn't just money, it was my chance to rewrite my place in this family. But first, I had to decide what to do with it, and how to handle the fallout from my outburst. This is where I started taking back control. Back in my 500-square-foot Capitol Hill apartment, I sat at my wobbly kitchen table, the ticket staring at me. My phone buzzed nonstop, 15 texts, 8 missed calls from Mom, Dad, even Chloe. "Liv, let's talk," Mom pleaded. "You're overreacting," Dad said. Chloe's text? "OMG, $100,000? Call me." I silenced it, needing space. That night, I called Jasmine, my best friend who'd always seen through my family's nonsense. "Girl, you dropped a bomb," she said, laughing. "But seriously, they've been walking all over you forever. This money's yours, use it for you." Her words hit home. For once, I wasn't going to fix their problems. I spent days researching how to claim the prize. The Washington State Lottery office was closed for the holidays, so I locked the ticket in a safe box under my bed. After taxes, I'd clear about $70,000, not a mansion, but enough to breathe. I made a plan. $30,000 for a reliable used Subaru Outback, $20,000 to pay down student loans, $15,000 for an emergency fund, and $5,000 to upgrade my apartment, new couch, a real bed frame, maybe a rug. No splurges, just stability. For years, I juggled bills, driven a dying car, and lived on instant noodles. This was my cushion, my fresh start. By New Year's, my phone was a war zone. Mom left voicemails. "Liv, we're worried. Let's discuss your win as a family." Dad texted. "That money's a big responsibility. We can help you invest." Chloe's messages were bolder. "Hey sis, maybe you could help with my new place's furniture? It's kinda empty, LOL. Help." With her $1 million mansion? The nerve floored me. I ignored them, but 2 days after Christmas, Dad called my landlord, asking if I'd come into money and could cover a rent hike. I was livid. Jasmine, over coffee at our favorite Fremont cafe, laid it out. "They're sniffing around your cash, Liv. Shut it down." She was right. They weren't sorry, they saw me as a bank. I texted the family group chat. "I'm fine, but I need space. The money's mine and I'm handling it. Don't ask about it again." Short, firm, done. Mom replied, "We just want to support you." But I didn't bite. Chloe sent a pouty emoji. Dad went silent. For the first time, I felt in control, but it wasn't easy. Late at night, I'd second-guess myself. Was I too harsh? They're family, right? But then I'd remember the candle, the mittens, Chloe's mansion, and how they'd never once helped with my car repairs or loans. I wasn't the strong one anymore. I was the one setting boundaries. The lottery office reopened on January 2nd. I drove there, hands sweaty, and submitted my claim. The clerk, a cheerful woman named Marla, said it'd take 4 to 6 weeks for the check. Big plans, she asked. I smiled, just catching my breath. Driving back, my Corolla rattling, I felt lighter. That $70,000 wasn't about revenge, it was about me. I started browsing used Subarus online, picturing a car that wouldn't strand me. I paid a chunk of my loans, watching the balance drop. I even ordered a new sofa, charcoal gray, something I'd never splurged on. Small wins, but they felt huge. My family didn't stop. A week later, Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced, eyes teary. "Liv, we didn't mean to hurt you," she said, clutching a coffee mug she brought as a peace offering. "But Chloe's struggling with the mansion's taxes. Could you chip in? Family helps family." I stared dumbfounded. Chip in? For a $1 million house? I took a deep breath. "Mom, I love you, but no. I'm done bailing out Chloe or anyone. My money's for my life." Her face fell, but I held firm, ushering her out. Jasmine's voice echoed, "Boundaries, Liv." That moment saying no was my real victory. What happened next, how my family reacted, and what I sent them, shocked them more than my win. Want to know how I flipped their world for good? Keep watching because this gets intense. Walking away from that Christmas showdown, clutching my $100,000 lottery ticket, was a turning point. Confronting Mom, Dad, and Chloe about their favoritism, Chloe's $1 million mansion versus my $3 candle, felt like shedding a weight I'd carried for years. Back in my Seattle apartment, I'd set firm boundaries, refusing their pleas to chip in for Chloe's mansion taxes or furniture. With $70,000 after taxes, I'd mapped out a practical plan. $30,000 for a Subaru Outback, $20,000 for student loans, $15,000 for savings, and $5,000 for apartment upgrades. Saying no to Mom's tearful visit was tough, but it sparked a new chapter. That win wasn't just money. It was my chance to rebuild my life and confidence. This part of the story is about how I grew into someone who didn't need their validation, while my family started facing the fallout of their choices. With the lottery check pending, I threw myself into living deliberately. I'd always been the strong one, grinding through data analytics gigs in my 500-square-foot Capitol Hill apartment, driving a 12-year-old Toyota Corolla that coughed more than it ran. But now I wanted more than survival. I joined a local running group at Green Lake, needing fresh air and new faces. That's where I met Ryan, a 32-year-old software engineer with a dry sense of humor and a knack for listening. We jogged 3 miles, trading stories about tech life and family quirks. He didn't know my drama, just saw me as Liv, funny, driven, maybe a little guarded. When he asked me out for coffee, I hesitated, used to putting myself last. But I said yes, and our first date at a Fremont cafe felt like a step toward trusting again. Ryan respected my independence, never pushing, and it was a relief after years of family expectations. At work, my focus paid off. I'd been freelancing for a tech startup, building data dashboards, but the Christmas fallout lit a fire. I pitched a new project, a predictive analytics tool for their marketing team, and spent 20 hours refining it. My boss was impressed, offering me a full-time role as lead analyst with a $10,000 raise. I accepted, signing the contract the same day my new sofa arrived. That charcoal gray couch, my first real furniture, wasn't just decor. It was proof I was building a life for me. I framed my college diploma, hung it above my desk, and swapped my wobbly IKEA table for a solid oak one. Small changes, but they screamed, "I'm enough." Meanwhile, my family's world was shifting. Chloe, living in her $1 million Queen Anne mansion, hit a wall. The property taxes, $20,000 annually, were due and she hadn't saved a dime. Mom and Dad, who'd covered her car insurance and tuition, couldn't foot the bill. Chloe listed the mansion for sale, moving into a 600-square-foot studio near her coffee shop job. She texted me once, "This adulting stuff sucks, LOL." But I didn't reply. Not out of spite, but because I was done carrying their weight. Mom and Dad stopped asking for money, but their calls dwindled, replaced by awkward texts. "Hope you're okay, Liv." I sensed their guilt, but they weren't ready to own it. Jasmine, my rock, kept me grounded. "Over tacos at a Ballard food truck," she said, "you're not just surviving, you're thriving. They're scrambling because you stopped playing their game." She was right. I'd spent 29 years chasing their approval, but now I was running for me, literally and figuratively. The running group became my tribe. We'd tackle 5-mile trails, cheering each other on. Ryan joined one run, joking, "You're fast for a data nerd." Our dates grew steadier, movie nights, hikes, even a Seahawks game. He didn't fix me, but he reminded me I deserved relationships that didn't demand I shrink myself. One night, checking my email, I found a message from Mom. No subject line, just a block of text. "Liv, we've been thinking. We didn't realize how much we leaned on you being strong. Chloe's struggling and we see now we didn't prepare her. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen, heart racing. It wasn't an apology, not fully, but it was a crack in their armor. I didn't reply right away. Jasmine's advice echoed. Wait till they show, not just tell. I closed my laptop, knowing I'd respond when I was ready on my terms. That $100,000 win didn't solve everything, but it gave me breathing room to grow. My family was starting to face their mistakes, and I was building a life that didn't revolve around their approval. What came next, how they reached out and what I sent them, shocked them even more than my win. Want to see how this unfolded? Keep watching because the real twist is coming. Winning that $100,000 lottery ticket was my lifeline after a Christmas that exposed my family's favoritism. Chloe's $1 million mansion versus my $3 candle and $20 Starbucks card. Confronting Mom, Dad, and Chloe, then setting boundaries with my $70,000 win shifted everything. I'd used the money wisely. $30,000 for a Subaru Outback, $20,000 for student loans, $15,000 for savings, and $5,000 for apartment upgrades. Joining a running group, dating Ryan, and landing a full-time lead analyst role with a $10,000 raise marked my personal growth. Mom's email admitting they'd leaned too hard on me being strong was a tentative step, but I wasn't ready to dive back in. Chloe struggled to maintain her mansion, forcing her to sell it and move to a 600-square-foot studio, hinted at change. Now, as spring bloomed in Seattle, I saw my family grappling with the consequences of my boundaries, and I started to see glimmers of hope for something better. I kept contact minimal, short texts, no visits. My phone buzzed less, but when it did, the tone was different. Dad sent a photo of his garden, "Thinking of you, Liv." No money talk, just a quiet gesture. Chloe's messages shifted from pouty emojis to updates. Got a full-time barista job, saving for a car. I didn't reply much, but I noticed. Jasmine, over coffee at our favorite Fremont cafe, said, "They're feeling the void you left. Keep holding that line." Her support kept me steady as I navigated this new dynamic, unsure if their changes were real or just guilt. One rainy April afternoon, I got a call from Chloe. I hesitated, expecting another plea, but answered. "Liv, can we talk?" "Not about money," she said, voice softer than usual. "I messed up, taking everything for granted. I'm trying to figure out my own stuff now." She told me about her studio, how she'd budgeted for rent, even paid a $300 parking ticket herself. "Selling the mansion sucked, but it woke me up," she admitted. "You were right. I wasn't ready for it." I listened, guard up but intrigued. "I'm not asking for anything," she added. "Just, maybe we could grab coffee sometime?" I said I'd think about it, a small crack in my wall. A week later, Dad emailed, longer this time, "Liv, we've been unfair. We saw you as unbreakable, so we gave Chloe more, thinking it balanced things. It didn't. She's learning now and we're learning too. Can we meet?" No pressure. It wasn't perfect, but it felt honest. I agreed to coffee at a neutral spot, a cozy Queen and Cafe, 10 minutes from my apartment. Ryan, who'd become a steady presence, encouraged me. "Go, but don't let them pull you back into old patterns," he said over pizza one night. His perspective, grounded and kind, helped me feel ready. The meeting was awkward at first. Mom and Dad sat across from me, clutching their lattes like lifelines. Mom's eyes were red. "Liv, we're sorry," she started. "We didn't see how much we hurt you. Chloe got the mansion because we thought she'd fail without it. You? We took your strength for granted." Dad nodded, quieter than usual. "We've stopped paying her bills. She's working, budgeting. We're trying to fix our mistakes." I sipped my coffee, processing. "I needed to hear that," I said, voice steady. "But it's not just about Chloe. I need to feel like I matter, not just when I win a lottery." They flinched but nodded. "We want to earn that," Dad said. It wasn't a hug-it-out moment, but it was a start. Chloe's change felt more tangible. She texted a photo of a budgeting app, "Using this like you suggested." I replied with a thumbs up, testing the waters. When we met for coffee a month later, she looked different. less flashy, more grounded. I'm taking a bookkeeping course, she said, stirring her latte. I want to open a small gallery someday, but I'm saving for it myself. She paused, meeting my eyes. I'm sorry, Liv. I didn't see how easy I had it or how hard you worked. Her words hit deep, but I kept it light. Keep at it, Chloe. You're doing okay. We didn't hug, but we laughed about a silly barista story, a flicker of the sisterhood we'd lost. My boundaries were working not just for me, but for them. Chloe was standing on her own. Mom and Dad were questioning their habits. I wasn't ready for family dinners or game nights, but I saw a path forward, one where I wasn't the afterthought. Jasmine nailed it over tacos. You forced them to grow up, Liv. That's power. Ryan, now my boyfriend, agreed you're building something real with or without them. That $100,000 win gave me the means, but my choices gave me the strength. What came next, how we took the next steps, surprised everyone. Want to see how this story unfolded? Keep watching, it's about to get even better. The fallout from that Christmas, Chloe's $1 million mansion versus my $3 candle, pushed me to confront my family's favoritism and win a $100,000 lottery ticket. Setting boundaries with my $70,000 prize reshaped my life, a new Subaru, paid loans, and a steady job as lead analyst. Chloe sold her mansion, moved to a 600-square-foot studio, and started budgeting, while Mom and Dad admitted their unfairness over coffee. Small steps, like Chloe's apology and their quieter gestures, hinted at change. By summer, I was ready to test a new dynamic, inviting them to my Seattle apartment for dinner. This wasn't a full reset, but a chance to build something real. The dinner was tense at first. Mom brought her famous gingerbread, Dad a bottle of wine, Chloe a sketch she'd drawn, a peace offering. My new oak table, bought with my $5,000 apartment budget, felt like a symbol of my independence. Your place looks amazing, Liv, Mom said, eyeing my charcoal gray sofa. Dad nodded, you've done well. Chloe, quieter than usual, said, I like the vibe. Feels you. We ate lasagna, conversation cautious but warm. I asked Chloe about her bookkeeping course. She lit up, I'm passing, saving for a gallery. Mom shared they'd stopped paying Chloe's bills, proud she was managing. We're learning, Liv, Dad said, meeting my eyes. We want to be fair. After dinner, I gave Chloe a budgeting notebook, a nod to her efforts. She grinned, thanks, sis. To Mom and Dad, I offered a framed photo from our Lake Washington cabin days, a gesture of hope. I don't want to erase the past, I said, but I need us to respect each other moving forward. They nodded, Mom teary. It wasn't perfect, years of hurt don't vanish, but it felt like a foundation. Chloe hugged me before leaving, a first in years. Driving away, they waved, and I felt lighter. This dinner showed me boundaries could heal, not just protect. My $100,000 win gave me power, but choosing respect over resentment gave me peace. What came next? Our new family dynamic surprised us all. Want to know how it ended? Keep watching for the final twist. That Christmas, with Chloe's $1 million mansion dwarfing my $3 candle, cracked my world open, but winning a $100,000 lottery ticket gave me the power to rebuild it. Setting boundaries with my $70,000 prize, buying a Subaru, paying loans, upgrading my Seattle apartment, freed me from being the strong one. My lead analyst role, Ryan's support, and a running group built my confidence. Chloe's move to a 600-square-foot studio and her budgeting efforts, alongside Mom and Dad's apologies, showed change. Our summer dinner, with gingerbread and cautious laughter, wasn't a fairy tale fix but a step toward mutual respect. This journey taught me lessons I want to share because they're bigger than a lottery win. That Christmas showed me you can't change how others treat you, but you can decide your worth. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're how you say, I matter. Whether it's family, work, or friends, standing up for yourself shifts everything. Start small. Say no to a favor that drains you. Ask for fairness or walk away from toxic patterns. Each step builds a life where you're not an afterthought. My $100,000 win gave me a cushion, $30,000 for a car, $20,000 for loans, but my real victory was choosing me. Chloe learned to budget, Mom and Dad learned to listen, and I learned my value doesn't depend on their approval. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever set boundaries with family? Maybe you said no to a guilt trip or demanded respect. Drop your story in the comments, I read every one. If this journey hit home, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's build a community that lifts each other up, one boundary at a time. My family's still a work in progress, dinners are awkward, but we're trying. That's the real win, not the $70,000, but the courage to demand respect. Thanks for watching. You're not just strong, you're enough exactly as you are. Don't let anyone make you feel less. Keep shining, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive into another story of flipping the script. Stay tuned because your worth is the greatest gift you'll ever give yourself.